Welcome to the Ignition News. We love to have you here, but remember to follow us on your favorite podcast platform. Click that like button, that subscribe button, and leave a comment below. It's going to be a great show. Welcome to the Ignition News. Let's get busy with the truth. Hands up. Okay, not sure what's going on. Good morning. Welcome everyone to the Ignition News. It is May 25th. I finally got it right. All right. I've been saying April almost all month long. Now that the month's almost wrapped up, I have finally acknowledged that it is in fact May, and it is the 25th. Usually I would start the show with trivia, but number one, I wanted to make sure that you stick around for the rest of the show tonight. I do have an announcement at the end of the show. And yes, but I do want to quickly talk about something just to challenge your perspective a little bit. So obviously, you know, I'm a opponent of AI, of data centers. I think we've talked about this at length. I actually saw something on Twitter that I borrowed, and I went over to Threads, and I took the painting Sunset in Venice by Monet, and I took a small version of that painting. And I said the following. I posted the image of Sunset in Venice, and I said, explain how if ChatGPT created this, it isn't art. Explain in detail what you don't like. And that thread is going wild right now with a lot of angry, very upset people. And I haven't yet announced over on Threads that it is not actually AI. But that's a crucial thing. And it was very eye-opening to me to understand how we view this and how we're disposing our critical thinking because we're getting into these silos. The reality is I posted an actual painting that was actually Monet, and it was an actual real painting. And by asking the question, if this is AI, what don't you like about it? Instead of critically interrogating the question, people are getting very upset. And the reason I bring this up is that if we're going to make progress on talking to people about AI, I am an AI skepticist, as you know, and people should know that based on my long repeat history of talking about it. But casual strangers on the internet who become outraged by what they think is AI and are unwilling to look deeper, just one layer deeper, to understand what it is about the image that you actually don't like, when they're looking at quite possibly the most famous, if not one of the most famous paintings by an actual artist, and getting sort of outraged that it is AI when it's not AI to begin with at all. My point is, this is actually an example of how algorithmic content, how silos, bucket silos, conversational silos are causing us to be outraged. And when I tell you, people are outraged at this, they are outraged that I would dare post an AI art and ask why, what it is that they don't like about it. That's an essential conversation. So I would challenge you, as we move ahead, as we have these conversations, don't get yourself trapped in information silos. Always take a little bit of time to interrogate. Don't trust just randomly the words of people on the internet. We are getting bucketed into silos, and those silos are causing real harm. So let's get into the stories today. Welcome to the Ignition News. As I said, it's May 25th. I have 3 stories today that I want to talk about. If you're new to the show, I do want to encourage you to go follow along on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We had a really big, a nice amount of growth last week. So I do want to talk about that towards the end of the show. Let's see. Someone over on, honestly, it just misses context, as a human would have had an AI only as context of its unethically sourced training data, which simplifies human IDs since it doesn't understand. Compound sentences. Let's go. Continuing on. So our first story, let's get into it. A reporter asked Donald a simple question, the president, on May 12th. He was walking outside of the White House on his way to Beijing. And the question was, when you're weighing what to do in Iran, how much does the financial situation of regular Americans factor in? How much does it weigh on you? And the president took a beat and he said, not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. That is the president of the United States, who literally ran on a campaign of affordability. Do you remember him saying groceries, an old-fashioned word? He literally ran on the economic crisis that America is facing right now. And when he's making decisions about whether you can afford gas or whether your credit card minimum payment goes up, whether you can afford to buy groceries or whether you can afford to, buy school supplies next year, he was very clear. He doesn't even think about it a little bit. Today on the Ignition News, we're looking at something simple. We're going to take a look at this administration and its word, and we're going to take a look at what happens when the most powerful person on earth tells you that he does not factor your daily life into his thinking. We're going to actually look at the receipts today, and then we're going to go into a little bit more depth about who's actually voting with their feet. And of course, this doesn't just matter if you're here in Las Vegas where we broadcast the show. This is everyone. So let's take a look at all these stories. So number one, the first story, the receipts. PolitiFact ran the numbers on May 15th. They asked the White House to prove its own economic metrics. The White House did not share any of these metrics, and that is interesting as a story in itself. When a reporter says, hey, tell me how you're measuring your own success, and the response is silence, that tells us everything we need to know. So PolitiFact and a couple of other organizations pulled numbers about the economy. They tracked 6 categories by the Bureau of Labor and Statistics 16 months into the second term. So here are the receipts of the performance of this administration. Groceries. Groceries are up 3.2%. I bet it feels like a lot more than that to you, to be honest with you. There's no way. I can't honestly say it feels like groceries are only up 3.2%. Electricity is up 8.7%. Housing is up. Apparel, clothing is up. Medical costs are up. Tuition and childcare is up. Every single category that was tracked is rising faster than the Fed's 2% target. Every single category, with one exception that is insanely outpacing it, which is gas. Gas is its own story. Obviously, we launched this war in Iran in February. Iran has blocked the Strait of Hormuz. The White House is currently, as of today, saying that negotiations are underway, and Iran is saying that they are not actually close. So think about that itself as a story for a moment. You have the White House saying, hey, we're talking to Iran about shutting this thing down, and Iran is like, that is not happening. That's insane. That is an insane thing. In any other timeline, in any other place, if an administration said we are engaging with another country about ending the conflict, the unnecessary conflict that we started, and the other country said that's not happening, that would be a definitive career-ending scandal right there. But it's just Monday. But what does this impact in terms of wages? Early in 2025, wages were actually outpacing inflation. That meant that people had the opportunity to get ahead, but that trend has reversed. Gone. Why I can say that is, as inflation picked back up, wages have not continued to rise. I mean, to be very clear, with rising inflation, rising wages, that's not necessarily the best formula either, because then you can have something called stagflation. But the most damning indication of this is actually not necessarily how much people are making, but how much people are losing. The most damning stat is consumer loan delinquency. The share of money people borrowed that they can no longer pay back in time. So you're talking about credit card loans, you're talking about car loans, you're talking about mortgages, that kind of thing. That number is equal now to where it was during the Great Recession, 2008, the financial crisis, right? 16 months into the second term, credit card and auto loan delinquencies are at Great Recession levels. Welcome to the Ignition News. Let's get right into story number 2, more receipts for you, and that is the crisis that is already here. The Guardian actually published a piece this morning. It's called Financial Crisis Trump Economics. Here's the framing. We haven't just named it yet. We don't have this quite like Lehman Bank moment from 2008. But it's kind of trending into the previous story. The U.S. government is now spending $88 billion a month just on interest payments every single month. That's equal to what we spend on defense and education combined. We obviously have the AI sector making it look like the economy is doing quite well, but that is really fundamentally not much different in our view than the economic bubble in 1999. The tariffs that have been ruled potentially illegal means the federal government is also going to have to refund those tariffs, which means we're going to cut into the Treasury even more. So the Treasury Department is firing 64% of the staff at the Office of Financial Research, which is the agency Congress created after 2008 specifically to spot the next financial crisis. So why would you fire the people whose job it was to let you know that a crisis was coming? The answer to that is a lot of things. You fire warning lights because you don't want people to see the warning, right? You fire the smoke detector because you don't want anyone calling the fire department, and you fire the canary because you don't want people leaving the coal mine. The American Prospect also ran a piece in February predicting a, quote, severe financial crisis likely sometime this year. That was in February. We are now in May. And the financial press is starting to use the word stagflation. See, I told you, stagflation. This is a lose-lose scenario. You have the government with this massive debt. You have consumers with massive debt. You have literally the Treasury firing the department that's supposed to look for the next financial crisis. You have gas prices rising. You have fertilizer causing food prices to rise and food shortages. And of course, you have what is about to be potentially one of the worst droughts in the Western United States that you have ever seen. It's not great. However, there is some positive news. The Daily Beast ran a story this morning, as well as The Guardian, and here it is. When I say good news, stick with me for a minute. There is resistance to all of this happening, and it is happening with people's wallets. With enough resistance, I believe that we're going to see actual change. The headline alone is interesting. The United States has roughly 4 million fewer international visits in 2025 than the year before. That is a 5.5% decline. What that means is foreign visitors are not coming to the United States and not spending their money. How much of an impact was that? $8 billion. $8 billion has been vaporized from the United States economy because people are spending in Mexico or Tokyo or Vancouver or the Mediterranean. And aside from COVID, this is the sharpest annual drop in U.S. tourism in roughly 20 years. Now, the part that you're not going to read about in the media is it did not happen eventually or evenly. It happened from specific countries. Here are the biggest countries. Germany, India, France, Australia, Chile, and China. And the biggest drop by far came from, Canada, our closest ally. The country with the longest undefended border in the world that has fought with us in every major war, the country whose hockey team plays in our literal cities, whose snowbirds buy condos in Phoenix, and whose retirees fill our restaurants everywhere. I grew up in a town on the border, or not the town was not on the border, but I grew up in a state which was on the border of Canada. Canadian trade, tourism was an essential part of the economy. Canadian travel to major U.S. cities, according to mobile tracking data, has fallen off a cliff 42% over the last year. Why? Well, it could be that the president is openly threatening to annex Canada. Could be that whether you're from Canada or Chile or you're from China, you have a very real threat that you might get pulled over and detained by ICE and shipped to a third world country. But in February, Politico found that most Canadians now view the United States as an unreliable partner and ally. The same poll found Canadians are more likely than Europeans to view the U.S. as a greater threat to global peace than Russia. Our literal closest ally is more concerned about the United States being a threat to them than Russia. When Canadians look at America, their neighbor, they now see something increasingly more dangerous. And why do I say that this is a good thing? Well, America, as I've described before, is no longer a democracy, in my view. It is an inverted totalitarianistic country. Forgive me for the term. We are in a state of inverted totalitarianism, a state where we still have elections, a state where we still have a government, but where this is largely controlled by oligarchs who largely influence our political leaders. You don't need tanks on the street. You don't need martial law. You can control everything simply by controlling the levers of power. And we're seeing that more and more and more. Our literal space program, once the crown jewel of American innovation, we put people on the moon. Our space program is being supplanted by billionaires wanting to play around and dick around in space. Our military, once thought to be one of our strongest, I guess, defense mechanisms, is proving out loud and visually to be ineffective in a war against Iran. I think we thought, looking at what happened in Venezuela, this quick sweep in, we grabbed their dictator around. I think we thought we were invincible, but now it's proving that our military strategy, how we spend that money, almost $1 trillion every year, the president's asking for $1.5 trillion, is not prepared for modern conflict. An oligarchy, an inverted totalitarian country depends on the money continuing to flow, on the billionaires getting richer and richer and richer, and on this idea that you are going to have just enough to keep spending, to keep buying, to keep going. The only real way out of this, in my view, is people finally waking up and understanding that we can't keep doing this anymore. And one of the fastest ways that's going to happen is economic pressure. Resist, boycott, people not coming to the United States. And unfortunately, this is going to cause an enormous amount of economic pain to you, to me, to your family, to our systems. But our government has failed us. Ask yourself one question. Do we actually have a Congress? Is there actually a Congress in the United States of America? Do we have a tripartite system of government? The president is in an illegal war. He lies to you and says, oh, it's over. Now we have this thing, Operation Epic Freedom, or whatever they're calling this thing. I don't even care anymore. It's so many different things. Every single day there's a crisis in this country. We're supposed to hold our breath and just get through this. But look at what's happening with this chemical tank, right? You have this chemical tank that apparently, from my view, looks like it hasn't been properly maintained. I was seeing they were trying to get to release the chemicals with the valves, but the valves were gummed up. Why would the valves be gummed up? I don't know, but I'm guessing that they weren't maintained properly. Another big company taking every shortcut possible, save $5 here, save $50 here, fire the guy that does the maintenance, have one guy do the job of 3 people, and all of a sudden we're sitting and watching. Is this tank going to explode? Because these capitalists, as Bernie would say, they want more, 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 more. It's a disease. It's a disease. And we are left to suffer. We are left to literally fear. The economic pressure from things like tourism and from you making the decision not to support this is going to have an impact. But it's also going to have a consequence. So prepare yourself to understand that consequence. Prepare yourself to know, are you being responsible with your finances? Are you making decisions about how you might need to spend your money better? Are you supporting companies that are harming you? These are important questions. I believe we are going to get out of this. I believe that we are going to push back against this authoritarianism. Of course, my lawyers want me to remind you that on the Ignition News, we do not support or condone acts of violence. But you are being subjected to the violence of this constant chaos, this trauma, the violence of poverty, of not being able to afford health care, the violence of fearing for your friends and neighbors, being kidnapped off the street. That is all violence. And we must persist. Friends, this is the Ignition News. It is May 25th, 2026. I have an announcement. The Ignition News will be going offline until June 8th. So I'm sorry, but we will not be posting any new episodes or updates in that time. I understand. I will miss you as well. But I have 2 important things to talk about. Number one, the reason. Why is that happening? Well, fortunately, we're going to be able to go into production on our documentary about flock safety. So we're going to need to go offline to get into gear for that documentary. By the way, if you live in Las Vegas, I'm planning on having a trashy gala to raise money for the documentary. I'm thinking of doing it at Crystal Palace. So we're looking to have a really trashy gala. You know how these organizations, they have the fancy, the galas, whatever you want to talk about. It's like at a nice hotel. Everybody wears a tuxedo. It's all fun. Well, we're going to have one at Crystal Palace. What was number two? I forgot number two. Oh, number two. It's getting ready for season 3 of Ignite, Fighting Fascism in the Age of Its Rise. I have a very special season 3. I'm gonna have to be careful. Yeah, I'll get ahead of that. Even though season 2 was very short, that Ignite, our other podcast, continues to actually grow very quickly. Apparently people want to know how to fight fascism, so that's good. So we're going to both get into production on the documentary about flock safety and then prepare to launch season 3 of Ignite, Fighting Fascism in the Age of Its Rise. So if you don't see us here on the Ignition News for a while, that's normal and it's planned. We will be back on Monday, June 8th. In the meantime, 3 things. Number 1, make sure that you're taking time to take care of yourself. Number 2, if you live in Nevada or any other state that is currently in primary elections, please pay attention to who you are putting in power right now. Primary elections in Nevada are actually happening right now. And the people that we choose to represent us have to fundamentally be committed to this project. And number 3, if you don't believe that we can get out of this, I need you to do some historic research. To go back and listen to Ignite, Fighting Fascism in the Age of Its Rise, our other podcast, to hear the stories about how people stood up against fascism in the darkest times, how they found glimmers and rays of hope, how they inspired others, often at great risk, and how some paid the ultimate price. If you're feeling that we're not going to get through this time in American history, I need you to go listen to Ignite. Get yourself caught up on what resistance actually looks like. Find that spirit in your soul. Find the fire of the energy of the passion for the things that you believe in. And come back when you're ready. This is May 25th. We're going on a pause on the Ignition News. I'll see you back on June 8th. It's been a pleasure working with you. I'm really excited. Oh, side project. I'll tell you that on June 8th. I have a fun little project that's not related to any of this, but I keep yapping. So anyways, we will see you back on the show on June 8th. It's been a great show. It's been wonderful. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you back on June 8th.